Hello, and thank you for watching Ask Ron, where Ron answers our Gold Club members' questions each and every week. My name is Jesse, and I have Ron here ready to answer your questions. How are you doing today, Ron?
Go for it.
All right.
I'm looking out the window at this beautiful weather, thinking about all those poor folks up north.
Oh, the
Snowed under.
snow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wild. Can't really complain too much over here. All right. First questions are from, you guessed it, Tony and Angie Stewart from Ohio.
What would we do without them?
They have some great questions every week. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. I know every situation is unique, but as we start the year and set goals for freedom, what are some of the indicators that you think a person should have in place before they quit their job?
You need cash flow and or money in the bank so you can sleep. Because if you quit your job and you don't have a backup that you can trust, you're going to start managing from chaos and making mistakes and just creating a big mess. I'm telling you this because I've seen so many people do just exactly that, including myself. In 1982, I quit my job after I made one $3,000 check, which by rights would be a foolish decision to make. However, I knew I could always go get another job. Couldn't always go get another career. So I literally quit my job the week after I got my first check, which was 3 weeks into the business after my first seminar. So make sure you got money coming in or money in the bank to cover you for a while you learn the ropes and get your business up and running. You should be making money in real estate before you quit your job.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what kind of they were thinking. Months of living expenses saved, cash
Yep.
flow from lease options, deals equal to month expenses.
Yep.
Yep, all of those good things.
The truth is, this is only a part-time business anyway. I know if you want to get out of your job, you want to get out of your job. Of course, that's your option. But this business takes so little time if you do it right and follow my systems. Having a full-time job is not going to hinder your ability to make money, because really you need to get your business down to the point to where you're only making a few calls a week, and anyway, everything else is done for you. And that's already set up for you. That's already in the works. You just got to plug in and play. First thing you got to do is get trained. And it's our quick start school, as you know. In fact, we got one starting next week down here in Florida. Then there's one in March. They're both here in Florida. And they're small rooms, 40 or 50 people. So you got to get trained and then implement the training before you quit your job, in my opinion. But, you know, I don't know what you have to work with. Don't know if you are capable of living for a while. And don't ask me how long, because I don't know. That depends on how fast you implement the things that you learn, to tell you the truth. And honestly, in one respect, I can say quitting your job is going to build a fire under your butt, so you have to get out there and get to work. So there's merit to that. And I always say, when you get on the island, burn the ship behind you so you can't get off of it. And that'll force you to get it. And that's why we keep letting people come back free to our events. You come once, you get to come back free. You need continuing education. Everybody does. My most active players in the industry that have been to my quick start school, most of them at least 3 times, pick up new stuff every single time. Well, because I add new stuff every single time. But you got to hear this stuff more than once. You can't just go sit in a seminar and go home and expect the seas to part and Moses coming across the seas. You know, this is a startup, and then we get to the point to where we start making money, and then we keep accelerating from there until you get on glide. And I can tell you, it's going to take you at least a year to get on glide.
Thanks, Ron. Our next question is from Robert Straker from Oregon. He actually has 2 questions.
All right.
Question 1, with all of the private lenders out there, how can we know that the lender is right for us? Many are good, while many can be bad, like high interest and questionable terms.
Those aren't private lenders, Robert. Those are loan sharks. We teach you in my world to get money from people that don't even know what points means. People who want to get a higher rate of return on their money safely. I don't know how much safe you can get than have a mortgage on a property that isn't going anywhere and it isn't affected by the stock market. So if you're looking for short-term money, that's really easy to get, but some people don't understand that you also get long-term money from people who have money in IRAs. About half the money is going to come from somebody's IRA. As far as they're concerned, it's just dead money sitting there. They can take it anytime they want. But I've raised a lot of money in my past years, and at least half of it came from people's IRAs. So that's people you know. They don't set the rules, you make the rules. No points. There's no extremely short-term payoffs. You jointly decide what the interest rate is, and it's not the rate that the loan sharks charge. Now, I was in the mortgage business for 15 years, lending out other people's private money, and I can tell you, I know all the tricks. And the biggest mistake that a private lender can make is they lend out too high of a loan-to-value ratio. So I don't want anybody to go over 70% today. All in, that's got to cover everything. And remember, when I'm talking to someone about having them put a loan on this property, they are going to have to convince me that they're going to do it. I'm not going to sit there and beg, and you'll have no confidence on the other side. This is what I can do for you. And then the big one is to ask them questions. Don't dictate terms to them. You know, what's the interest rate you would expect? And you work around that. If it's too low, fine. If it's too high, say I can't pay that. I can only pay 8% or whatever you want to do. And that's the normal rate out there right now, 8 or 9%. And then the term, the term is what you want it to be based on the type of deal you're doing. If I'm buying a property, paying cash for it, renovating, and then selling it, I need to borrow enough to take care of all of those expenses, not just the repair costs, but also the holding costs, which is more than a lot of people give a credit for, especially if you're borrowing money from a private lender and you're hiring a realtor to sell a house. Okay, you get all those factors in there, and you got to have enough to cover that, plus at least $5,000. So you should be bringing home money the day you borrow a private loan from a private lender. Private lender means they're not in the business. Okay, you make the rules, they don't make the rules. And if you haven't been to my Quick Start School, you need to get there because we cover that in depth right there. And in fact, Jay Connor teaches it, and this is a guy who's borrowed millions of dollars, got millions of dollars worth of private money lined up. First 3 months, he found 1.2 million to work with, and no 2.2 million to work with right out of school. And now he's become the expert on private lending. So it's not about begging; it's about convincing them that to lend you the money without begging for it. And it's only a handful of questions and how you handle the call or how you handle the meeting, whatever. When I first started borrowing money on my own, it took me 3 weeks to get my first private lender online. So if you're really concerned about that, we got some, in fact, we got a private lending course, I think, on Gold Club, which makes it free. I think I'm sure there's a private lending course on there where I lay out the rules of borrowing private money. So I want to make one more point and then I'll shut up. Private money is only if you're going to rehab the house and pay cash for it. We don't need private money in terms business. Seller's always going to get little or no money, and you're going to get all of that right back when you put the tenant buyer in the house. You get a very big front end deposit, so it's extremely short money that you have to raise. Or you can even buy the house and give the seller back a short-term second mortgage. Give you plenty of time to get that. I mean, if they're owner financing it, of course, if you're paying cash for it, then you just got to go raise the cash. But I don't want you to think that you got to have private money. You're not going to make any money in this business. I prefer the terms deals that don't require private money.
Yes.
All right, what's next?
Robert's second question is,
Okay.
I'm concerned about possible saturation of real estate investors out in the real estate arena. With so many of them out there, I wanted to know what your thoughts are about that, and if there are going to be any opportunities to invest, or if there are going to be any less chances to invest.
I can't hardly understand what you're saying, Jesse. Read that again to me.
He's concerned about the possible saturation of real estate investors in the arena.
Oh,
yep.
Okay. Well, I started in March of 1982, and I've had competition every single year since. And with the technology we got today, you seem to have more in there, but I'm telling you, it's not very hard to grossly outdistance them, especially the new ones there. they go to a seminar and they think they know everything. And that includes the new gurus that are on the internet teaching stuff. You should be so busy taking care of your own business, you care less about the people all around you that are say they're buying deals. They're always going to have competition, and we've always had it. And frankly, I can't remember the last time we lost a deal to a competitor, to be honest with you, especially in the terms business, because most of your competition are going to be in the junker business trying to wholesale the house. Now, I can't blame them because it is one of the fastest ways to get a check, but some of the stupid stuff they do just makes me laugh. I can tell they've had no training or wrong training, one of the two. Quit worrying about your competition and worry about getting the next deal.
That's all right. Thank you, Ron. Our last question for this week's segment is from Les Kaz from Alabama.
Okay.
I purchased a house paying the seller monthly while the tenant buyer pays me.
Yeah.
The seller is not paying the mortgage company on time, and I have durable power of attorney with the mortgage company. Can I bypass paying the seller and make the payments to the mortgage company directly?
Only if you have the seller's permission and you need to get it in writing. It's just a simple email. Get it in writing, but I don't know why you're worried about it. It's the seller's credit that the seller is running. What do you care? As long as they do make the payment, you don't care if it's on time or not. It has no effect on you. And if they don't make the seller's payment, then it's already in your mortgage language that you can make it for them, but you got to get their permission. You don't want to be both of you doing, the same thing at the same time and nobody knows what the other person is doing. So get their permission and just tell them I want to start making it directly to the bank. I make all my payments directly to the seller's bank, all of them. Every time we close the deal, we just get a little addendum stating that we can. And even if we didn't do that, I tell them, yeah, we're going to make the payment directly to the bank. Frankly, that's within your front end conversation, probably while you're in the house. And most of them figure that anyway. I don't know. I never had any problem with that, getting the seller to agree to it. And if I had a problem, I'd say, why don't you want me to make the payment? And I'd be ready for that one. The answer is because now it's my house and I want to make sure that payment gets made. And I'm sure you'd want me to make it on time, wouldn't you? It ain't hard to get them out. They don't want to mess with it anyway. They just want to know it's getting made. We just bought a house and closed on it in October. And the first payment was due November, December, January 1st. And that seller, they moved out to Las Vegas. And that seller literally contacted us by phone to see if we're going to make the January payment. Okay, which is fine. I would too. But I don't think we're going to hear from them again. They just wanted to see if we're going to make that first one. And if you ever run across a deal where a seller just is not sure you're going to make the payment again. Okay, I always get at the third month, I start making payments, not right away. And if it comes right down to where they just can't get past that, I say, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make the first payment that's due in the third month from now. I'll make it at closing so you can sleep better and you know that I'm going to make the payment. It doesn't cost you anything. I mean, it's not an expense because you're going to wind up making the payment later. Just a matter of making it now. So whatever it takes to ease their mind. I know you're thinking, well, what if a seller asks me, well, how do I know he can trust you? My answer is, well, listen, I'm sitting here buying your house, got to come up with money to pay your closing costs. Then I'm going to have all the obligations going forward till you're paid off. Why on earth would I want to do all of that if I wasn't intending to make the payments? I will do what I promise you that I'll do. Will you keep your promises to me? That'll be the end of that discussion. All right. No more?
That was all.
We should tell them about the summit coming up here in March. It's free. We got some great talent on it too. Some great people that and I'm going to teach some on it, several things. And it starts, March
25th through 28th.
26, 27, and 28. And it's free. And we'll start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got a lot of stuff to cover within it. So put that in your calendar and get registered. Where do they go get registered? legrand.com/summit, you know?
Yeah, they can do that, or you can go down below and we'll have the link there for you to get signed up for the summit.
Okay. All right, is that it?
That is all. And if you guys have any other questions that you'd like to ask Ron, first make sure you're a Gold Club member and we can get you on the next edition of Ask Ron.
Okay.
All right.
We got some major changes coming up under the Gold Club and the VA system, so we'll make note. In fact, we'll probably just do maybe a webinar and go through all of those, and it's even a better deal, I'm telling you, you got right now. So you're also gonna learn how to use Dreams Pro. In fact, go to dreamsproai.com, dreamsproai.com. It'll tell you all about the Dream system and how such a cool device for running your entire business today, pulling comps and direct mailing to them and doing all that stuff without you doing anything but pushing a button. It's never really been easier to do what we're doing than it is right now. But again, it's not instant. Takes time, takes a little patience. There's not a whole lot for you to do if you'll listen to the old guy here, but still, you got a ramp up period like you do with everything else. I'm telling you, I get so many great letters from people out there. In fact, I just got one from Ann Brandel the other day, who happens to be one of our mentors, and also a first responder up in northern Indiana. And she's making a ton of money in real estate with no advertising cost at all. But anyway, she sent me an email the other day. She said, I love you. And I said, what the heck is this all about? I already knew. She just got a check for $162,000 on one house. Her whole life has changed because she got into real estate. And of course, everybody was telling her it wouldn't work here. It's a scam and all that crap that you hear. She didn't listen, fortunately, including her own brother was telling her that. And one day she took a handful of check receipt in there and had lunch with him, and his whole attitude changed after that. He thought she was doing something illegal. All right. He's telling stories now. I'll be here all day. All right. That's it.
That's all. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for tuning in. And incidentally, in case you don't know it, once a month, I do a call for the whole group. In fact, I'm doing one
Tonight.
Time you get this, it'll be over, but I'm doing one tonight. And I'm going to give you the March call right now. Come on. It's me online with you, asking questions and discussing whatever you want, addressing your issues. And that's going to be on March the 14th at 7 p.m. Oh, sorry, wrong. March the 17th at 7 p.m. And if you're in or have been through our mentoring group, it's March the 14th at 7 a.m. So I do both nights. Everybody's eligible to come on the 17th. Only people in mentoring or have been through it come on the 14th. Make a note, put it down. We're going to be doing a lot more group calls that we used to. We have a much lower cost service to coach people than we used to. All that's coming out shortly. We got a lot of changes coming up, so just stay posted. All right, I'll see you when I see you.
All right. Thanks, Ron.